everybody. Can you hear me? Yes, yes. Have you had enough bagels? You are not sitting here to take a post-carb nap, are you? I know if I see any eyes closing back there, I'm going to call you right out, right? I'm going to save all my tasting for after this panel. I learned the hard way yesterday. Trying to give a presentation after I'd eaten my weight in bagels was a bad idea. But my name is Karen Bornarth. I'm Executive Director for the Bread Bakers Guild of America. I am very excited to be here today to talk to these three champion bagel makers about not bagels, but about business. Because it's not enough to make a great bagel, you need to also run a strong business. But just a little bit about me and about the Guild before really we hear from who we're really here to hear from. But I am a baker. I was never specifically a bagel baker, but I was a production baker years ago. I was a teacher of baking, a product developer, and before joining the Bread Bakers Guild, I spent a lot of time in workforce and small business development. So I care about two things. I care about good bread, and I care about strong, healthy small businesses, and the Guild provides support in both of those things. And if you're interested in learning more about the Guild, look for Wei after this session. Can you put your hand up? He's our education manager, and he has some materials about the Guild. But enough about us. Let's hear just a little bit about our panelists, and then we're going to get right into a nice discussion. We'll save some time for some questions at the end. Next to me first, Ben Suh, owner and operator of Between the Bagel here in New York. He used to be a jewelry maker, is that right? Yeah, yeah, so it's a natural.
One Jewish thing to another Jewish thing.
Between the Bagel focuses on serving fresh, honest, unique food while building meaningful connections with the people it serves. We will get to learn a lot more about Ben. I'm just making quick introductions. Next, we have Bridget Odachowski, co-owner of Holey City Bagels in Charleston, but from New Jersey originally. Nice, moved to a warmer place. Holey City is Charleston's go-to spot for hand-rolled, water-boiled bagels. With more than 20 years in fine dining management, Bridget combines hospitality experience with community-driven vision as well as a law degree, which is a great thing to have as a small business owner. And then Joshua Pollack, founder and CEO of Bridge and Tunnel Restaurant Group, and specifically of bagel shops in Denver and beyond. Is that right? And many other things. So we're going to hear a lot about his story as we go along. His eateries are dedicated to nourishing the soul of America through the flavors of its immigrant stories. Let's remember how important. We wouldn't have the foods we have here in the U.S. if it weren't for immigration. So that's my last political message of the day. I'm just going to go down the row here. If you can tell me, Ben, a little bit about how you started your shop and this bagel journey.
Okay, so I started my bagel journey on March 3rd, 2020, or 2020, yeah. So 5 days before the pandemic shut down the city, I bought my bagel business. I was losing a lot of weight, stressing, a lot of sleepless nights. Unfortunately, we were going to gut it to become a rotisserie chicken spot, but I had to pivot and stay as a bagel spot. So during that time, I had no customers, no online presence, nothing. So we ended up hiring some furloughed chefs from Michelin star restaurants and paid them out of pocket and started working on developing our menu a little bit more, and then just pivoting towards the bagels and doing product development the same way I was doing jewelry, where we do one thing 50 different times, different temps, different ratios and everything like that. And we finally came up with our product, and where we came up with some other things because we had nothing else to do. We would just do Iron Chef in the back between the three of us and just eat and see what we liked. And that's how one of our signature sandwiches came up during a mistake, and it worked.
Yeah, mistakes are sometimes the key to all kinds of success, right? Nice. Bridget, what about you? Tell us a little bit about your founding story, Holey City Bagels.
Sure. I am not a bagel maker, also, just so you know. I can bake our bagels, but my husband is the founder of the company, and I didn't know him when he started it. It's Greg. That's Greg. He's from New Jersey, too, and in 2017, he was a 7th grade social studies teacher and taught himself how to make bagels on YouTube, and set up a stand at the farmer's market downtown and just sold out so fast. And he started doing it every weekend, most weekends. Eventually in 2019, he gutted a 1962 Airstream and turned into a food truck. It was a really cool truck. And was rolling bagels on the weekends, teaching during the week. I met Greg. I love bagels. I love Greg. And so, on Thursday nights, we would go roll bagels, like for the market. And, I had to portion. I wasn't allowed to roll for a little bit. And we were driving downtown one night and saw this for lease sign at a place that we both used to frequent in college. And it was an amazing location. And we just went for it. I wasn't supposed to be involved at all. We were really, it's Greg's dream. And it just kind of was what was supposed to happen. I was about to sit for the bar that summer. I just moved back to South Carolina. And opening a restaurant's really hard. And it's a lot of work, and it's not a one-person job. And everyone has strengths and weaknesses, and we just are a good balance. We complement each other really well. So I came in to help, and then I just took over. And
Wow.
No, say something about that.
I'm not an organized person.
yeah,
I can debate, but
I mean, like the business, right? Like it was,
Bridget has a fine dining
yeah,
background managing too, which
Yeah.
brings the bagel shop, which is we have lineups every morning.
Yeah.
It's like crazy.
it worked, and I wouldn't trade it for anything. We love
That's
it.
awesome. Yeah, I think part of being a successful business owner is knowing what you're not good
Yeah.
at as much as knowing what you are good at. So can you tell us about Rosenberg's in particular? I know you have a lot of different things.
Absolutely.
But,
So Rosenberg is a family name, my mother's side. So on the Rosenberg side, I'm fifth generation, born in Manhattan, raised in New Jersey, fourth generation, raised in Jersey on my dad's side. And bagels and the food that comes out of this area are part of my soul. And until I left this area, I didn't realize how important it was to me. So when it came time for college, like all good kids do, they run away from home. And so I went out to CU Boulder, go Buffs. And it was a magical experience, and I loved it. I fell in love with Colorado. I met my wife there. But part of me was not with me. And that part was the connection to this food and the food lineage and the culture. Like every family gathering growing up, the centerpiece was a bagel and lox. Like I've got the old VHS tapes of me just at the table just mowing down lox with cream cheese all over my face. And it really didn't exist in Colorado. We have bagel brands out there, which is Einstein's and Brugger's and Noah's Bagels. And they're good, but they're not the bagels that I grew up on. And, we felt the same about the pizza and the hoagies. And so really after Rosenberg's took off, I started it in 2012 after going back to CU Denver for an entrepreneurship program because I went to undergrad for finance and I worked in the mortgage-backed security industry until 2008 when the entire world blew up in that industry and really just did some soul searching. And I said all throughout college, I was like, if no one figures this out, I'm going to do this. I'm going to bring New York-style bagels to Denver, Colorado. And so we started with the water. And so we recreate New York's water chemistry. And our recipe is the same recipe some of these venerable bagel shops in New Jersey and New York have been using for over 100 years. And we stick to tradition. We don't really stray too far from it, but it's pretty funny to see every generation adds their own touch to it. Like, I grew up with cinnamon raisin bagels, but my father did not, right? And it's just fun for me to really keep connected to the authenticity of the product, not being in New York, right? We want to be a representation of all the people that came before us, but in a different market. And also by mistake, figuring things out, we got into certain parts of our business that we wouldn't have dreamed of getting into. We couldn't get Acme fish in Colorado because there were no bagel shops. So we started making our own fish, and now we smoke 8 different types of fish in-house, and we're going to packaged retail here in next year, and we're going to start shipping our products out to supermarkets. And so it's a fun thing where you start because you're passionate about something, and then you just kind of figure out where you're able to grow the business.
yeah. And I'm sure your finance background has contributed
Yes,
quite
it's
a
very
lot
helpful.
to the success of your
I'm
business.
very
Yeah.
glad I went to college and got that degree.
Yeah, because the product, the bagel or whatever it is just one small part of the. But you said something that I want to poll the audience really quickly. Where do you stand on blueberry bagels? Yay or nay? We got, see a mix here. I feel like I got a over there. That's a generational thing.
Yeah.
Like
I don't
the
sell
cinnamon
those.
raisin bagels. No,
I don't sell blue.
Yeah.
you don't sell blueberry bagels.
There's a short film, I think it's called like The California Bagel, and they follow it's like three generations of this like bagel wholesaler, and they interview like a fire round. They ask the grandfather, the son, and the grandson that all work in the business like their favorite bagel, their favorite schmear, and like the grandpa's like plain,
Yep.
the dad's like cinnamon raisin, the kid's like sun-dried tomato, rosemary, and then they go, what's your favorite schmear? And they go back up, and the kid's got like Nutella something, and then the dad is like scallion, and then the grandpa's like, my favorite schmear? Cream cheese.
And not a lot of it, right? Not a lot of it. All right. Let's talk a little bit about unexpected challenges and successes of your business. So it's not a journey that is straightforward, really, for anyone. I'm going to start with you, Bridget. What's been surprising to you in good and bad ways?
So, a lot of things. I don't have time to talk about all of them, obviously, on this panel, and happy to talk to anyone who is starting out as a brick and mortar or wants to start out as a brick and mortar. I think that on our opening day, we had 2 lines going in either direction down like blocks and blocks and blocks, but 15 minutes before we opened. And I realized that there were so many things we hadn't done or set up. We turned off the ticket printer our opening day. We just turned it off. But then they kept taking orders, right? So they just weren't getting printed. And we didn't practice. And so we knew the demand was there. So great. Okay. But we didn't have the power in the building. We still don't have enough power in the building to operate at the scale we should be operating at. And that's a landlord issue, and that's a separate issue. We didn't have the equipment we needed to operate at the level we were going to be operating at. And we were the first bagel shop in downtown Charleston, so there was actually no way to predict what we would have needed at that time. And we were on a low budget, so there was a limit to what we could spend at the time. Our opening day, our outdoor walk-in, which was not meant to be outdoors, but was, broke. And so my father-in-law was out there with a hairdryer, trying to defrost the coils on the top. There was no floor on this walk-in, and we had to close the next day. But we were so relieved, because it's just a lot. It's a lot. And it surprised me how, specific bagel shops are. I have 0 bagel shop experience before Holey City Bagels, other than going to them. And they're different. They're a different animal. You have the bakery operation, which is its own thing. If you have full service restaurant, not full service, but a full line, right? You have a full staff, a register, that's its own thing. We have a full coffee bar, it's a lot. Yeah. It's a lot to manage.
Very complex.
It's very complex, and bagel specific problems are very real.
It's interesting. So I work with a lot of bakeries, like traditional, artisan-style bread bakeries, and very few of them actually make bagels. And then bagel shops, I think, typically don't make a lot of other bread products, if any, because it is such a different animal with its own. I mean, the boiling part of it alone adds this layer of complexity to the process. Yeah. It's interesting what you said, just like having that viral demand probably seems like an awesome thing, but it can really actually be incredibly difficult for a business to be hit with it. I mean, you were hit with it on day one, which must have been terrifying. But to be hit with it at any point. So I want to talk about viral demand. I want to talk about Ben's Balls. Is there viral demand for Ben's Balls? No. That's a product he has. That's not a sick inside joke. But can you talk a little bit, Ben, about some of your successes and challenges?
Oh, yeah. Sorry, kids. My kids are here, so I have to keep my colorful verbiage to a minimum. So we got popular, or we went viral for one of our sandwiches called the Soul Meats Bagel. It's a bulgogi, egg and cheese with sautéed kimchi and a gochujang mayo. So it brings, my side of LA Korean culture to the New York bagel. I'm originally from LA, and I brought a lot of my past into a lot of our food. So stuff that I grew up with was bulgogi and eggs, and then, during that time of no customers, we came up with the bulgogi egg and cheese. And At first, we only had a couple customers. We don't even have it on our menu, to be honest. It was off menu for 2 years, but it was all word of mouth, and people kept on talking about it, and then they would tell their friends, and then bring them over, and so on and so forth. And then one day, it got onto the local Reddit group. It blew up on Reddit. The next day, we sold out completely. I was like, what the hell's going on? And then they were like, oh, you're on Reddit. I'm like, what's Reddit? Because I'm not the most technologically savvy, but they are like, oh, Ben, you're on Reddit. I'm like, okay, what's that? Who's that? And they're like, no, it's a platform. So I'm like, okay. So I added Reddit, and then now I got to figure out what kind of meat quantities I had to buy, because bulgogi is not a cheap, it's a ribeye. And I don't skimp on the product qualities, so that's what we mainly focus on better quality products. And then after that, a social media influencer picked it up, and then they started posting it, and then other people like, oh, okay. I don't pay for any social media. I try to focus on the customer service, the people that come to the store, and word of mouth. That's the main thing, because if you have that product and you believe in that product, I feel like people will come and tell everybody else.
Has it waned at all, though? I mean, I think that would be my concern about something that's viral, by definition. It doesn't stick around
I think
long.
there's the viral where if it looks good and stuff like that, but doesn't taste as good, then it falls off. But since we focus on the food and the quality of service, it's still going pretty strong. Our weekends are 30 to 45-minute waits just for one sandwich, and it's always surprising seeing, people waiting in line. So that's when I created Ben's Balls. And Ben's Balls are a little take off of the SMB, which is the Soul Meats Bagel. It's a bulgogi kimchi fried rice arancini. But we named it Ben's Balls, or the neighborhood named it Ben's Balls. I just did a poll. I wanted arancinos or bulgogi kimchinis, and we came up with different names, but Ben's Balls stuck, and it was a good way. It was a good way for me to gauge my customers, because I'm like, hi, would you like Ben's Balls? Or would you like my balls? And then they'd be like, what are you talking about? And then if they gave me then I'd understand, okay, they're a bulgogi kimchi fried arancini. And then they went, Ben's Balls. And then I'd be like, you what? Don't choke on them. So we would go very colorful. Sorry. We go very colorful, and we have that banter going in and out. So we were like the Korean Jewish Cheers of the bagel world. So like everybody knows each other. I knew a lot of my customers by name.
So a very common model, the Korean.
I mean, I feel like I've been accepted because I was in the Jewish newspaper at one point. So I feel like I was accepted.
Joshua, what about you? Successes and challenges?
Yeah. I mean, so many challenges, like they were describing, and like Bridget said, I don't think people, especially even in the restaurant world, restaurants are hard, period. Bakeries are hard. I don't think the bagel shop got enough respect for how challenging it is, because you have all the challenges of a bakery, working with the dough, being different throughout seasonal changes, batches of yeast that could have gone bad. Anything from the product to the business side could go wrong. Point of sale systems. Mm-hmm. I remember when we first started out, we went through like 3 or 4 point of sale systems that didn't know how to program all the potential modifiers for a single bagel sandwich. The guy was like, oh, we do all these crazy restaurants. We'll have no problem. Aloha. And I was just like, nope, you can't do it. There's like 60 modifiers. You want scooped? Do you want it toasted? Do you want light schmear on one side? What kind of lox do you want? Veggies, how do you want to cut for here to go? Yeah. There's so much that, the advice I have is just to like have reverence when you're doing it and understand it's not just like oh yeah, let's just go open a bagel shop, and you learn that through the experience and the challenge. And then there's like the unknown of whether you're going to be insanely busy or your walking goes down. Like everything they described has happened to me, this probably happened to a lot of people that have businesses here. The one thing I'm not sure if people do have experience with is one of our original location has apartments above it, and there was a gentleman who got murdered, and then they tried to burn the building down to cover it up. And this was about a year and a half into us being open. Allison's putting her head in her hands. This is my college friend, now controller of the company. When we started out in 2012, she was, in between jobs and was like, "Hey, do you need help opening the shop?" I was like, "Yeah." And so here we are 13 years later, but she was the one that had to deal with the insurance claims and the rebuilding of the restaurant, and it was a crime scene for a number of months. We couldn't get back in there. We had food in the walk-in, like rotting, and we couldn't get back in to like throw it out. And so, it's crazy what could happen, but anyone who wants to be an entrepreneur at all, let alone a restaurateur, you got to be a little bit crazy. You got to have a lot of passion, and you have to be flexible and versatile, and like water, just like whatever comes your way, you just have to be able to move with it. I mean, especially people, the pandemic, like there's so many things that honestly have made us so much stronger. We're facing cost of goods challenges right now and labor cost challenges in Denver. Minimum wage goes up every January through 2027. We're approaching almost $20 an hour for minimum wage in Denver. And we don't ship anything back here. Like, we don't export stuff to places. So for me to ship products from New York, which I get a lot of stuff, to Denver costs more than if you're shipping it to LA, because they're going to load that truck in LA and ship stuff back. And so our cost of goods over the last 5 years have probably gone up 30%, 40%. And so, these challenges are never ending. But the success comes from you can't control everything, but it's how you respond to it. So with the fire, we actually had a really good insurance plan, business interruption insurance. I'm going to say that again for anyone starting a business. Business interruption insurance. Do not cheap out on it. And so for almost 9 months, I think, all our staff was getting paid their full paycheck, including average tips, to not work. And so I required everyone to spend half their week volunteering with me, and we went out and we'd volunteer in the community. We would do pop-ups and donate all the money to the fire department, who saved our building, and it created an insane bond with our community and with our staff that's still with us. And so that was I'd say the biggest example of how the biggest challenge I couldn't have predicted became one of our biggest strengths. And so no matter what it is, like in business, you have to be versatile and willing to change, or else you'll fail.
That's exactly right. And I've been in bakeries long enough. I've heard people talk about them in a lot of different ways, but I'm going to say, I think the most accurate way I heard anyone describe his bakery was death by 1,000 small cuts. But the death part hopefully is not a part of the story, but the 1,000 small cuts certainly is. Yeah. I'd like to get a little bit kind of into your business model, so maybe we can pull back the rug a little bit on some of your numbers. You don't have to actually share your numbers, but how's your business work? What is it composed of? What do your margins look like? Can you talk about that, Ben? What are the elements of your business? Are you a brick and mortar retail? Do you have some catering, et cetera, that kind of thing?
So we're pretty much fully brick and mortar. That's all we're working on, and it's pretty much dealing with the day-to-day customer base. We are looking into expanding right now. We want to get a little bit bigger. I don't know if we want to stay in the bagels, because bagels are so tough. But we do want to expand into maybe more types of balls or other things within the bread community. But baking is just so tough. And the volatility of all the goods, I don't know if you guys were affected by the egg prices. We were paying, $50 a case of 30 dozen, and then it jumped up to $230 per case. That was crazy. And then the cream cheese apocalypse. Yeah, that was so bad too. Yeah, we couldn't get cream cheese for at least 3 months.
Philly put out a PSA to tell all home bakers to stop making cheesecake for a little while. Because bagel shops needed the cream cheese.
Wow. So with that kind of volatility in the cost of goods, our margins go up and down between it.
Do you do coffee? Is that an important part of your business?
No.
No,
Well,
no
like
coffee.
we just try to focus. Like we used to do smoothies. We used to do coffee espresso. I just do drip coffee, hot coffee, cold coffee. Our bagels, the SMB, the dank ass pork sandwich, and a couple other specialty sandwiches, and just spreads. And we just try to keep it really simple. now.
Are you open 7 days a week?
I'm there 7 days a week.
But are you, I assume you're there 7 days a week.
Well, yeah. So
Yeah.
I'm sorry, kids, but they take a brunt of it because I don't get to see them that
Yeah.
much. But I'm there 7 days a week from 4 in the morning to 4, 5, 6 at night, sometimes 10.
Yep.
Just because to save on our cost-cutting measures, I do shopping alone a lot of the times.
Yeah.
But yeah, so
Bridget, can you tell us a little bit about Holy City? What's the business model?
We are a bagel shop. We have a full sandwich menu, spreads menu. We serve our spreads by the pound. We have a full coffee bar. And catering and wholesale, we built up after we had a flow. We said no in the beginning. And then just this year, in May, our competitor who, like, they opened up and took all the wholesale because they were trying to mass produce. And we had to say no, we couldn't do it. But they stopped delivering wholesale, and we took it all. And, like, the good ones. And because there's bad wholesale accounts, too. And learned how to learn that, figure that out as we went. So we have a small, solid wholesale business now. And that, my experience is, like, wholesale should be either large or small, but not medium. And we have it's been a great, addition to the cash flow every week, and it's pretty autopilot. Catering is what we're working on right now. But for the first, we opened June 4th, 2022 as a brick and mortar, and just did, dine-in, online ordering, takeout. We had a delivery, I think, late last year. And that's still a small portion. We do it through, we have Toast as our POS, and I could talk about POS all day long, and I won't, because that's not this panel. As far as, the numbers, I could talk about, I love talking about the numbers, and I think what I meant about the challenges of opening up with that much demand and not being ready is you're just playing catch-up for a really long time. Like, I was also the general manager, and I'm sitting there checking, like, if the bags are stamped centered and straight every day instead of bookkeeping, it's so easy to focus on the things that I'm comfortable with and focus on the things that I know I can do well instead of, like, the big scary things, which is actually how the business stays alive. And P&Ls are scary. You have to read them and understand them. And, I know how to read a P&L, but I really didn't understand our P&L, right? I didn't have any, I had to, like, realize that I didn't know what I didn't know. I wasn't coming in as an experienced bagel shop owner, so I didn't know what the margins should be. I didn't know what the labor cost should be. I hadn't been in hospitality in a long time. And we got these specialized hospitality accountants 6 months after we opened, which was one of the best things we've ever done for our business, and they whipped us right into shape and keep things organized. So in the beginning, Greg was a head baker, I was a general manager, and that's what we did all day, every day. And that's what we had to do. And I don't have any regrets about that because I can be a great owner now because I know how to work every position. I don't believe, like, I have to be in the trenches every day, right? But I can if there's an emergency. And, if I need to point something out or coach somebody on something, it's really easy. And you can build the systems the way you want them based on, like, experience instead of, But now we have a general manager. She's at the booth right now. And it's running without me. And that's so awesome. And that's a goal, right? Like, that's the point. That place runs without me now.
That is awesome. And
Yeah.
then that allows for growth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Which we will talk about in a minute. Maybe you want to talk about the whole restaurant group, because it could be interesting to hear how all the pieces fit together and
Absolutely, yeah.
what you get to do when you have
So
a
like I
group.
said, bagels are probably the most important food to me and my family. It was definitely more of the soul food for me than pizza and Italian deli and other food that you find in the tri-state area, but it all really didn't hit in Denver. And so we knew we wanted to open Rosenberg's. I went back and wrote my business plan at CU Denver, won the business plan competition to get money to start the Rosenberg's concept. But even when I was doing that, I was like, well, it makes total sense to branch off into pizza at a certain point. I was very sad to see that I couldn't bake the pizza I wanted to in my bagel oven, so we have two separate ovens. But, same thing, we started, it wasn't a farmer's market, but actually a cafe that my CEO over there was the CEO of another restaurant group that was opening a cafe in like a tech incubator hub, very hip place, but they didn't have any breakfast program. And so one of the judges of that business plan competition was an owner, and he invited me to kind of launch out of their kitchen in the morning. And I built up crazy fandom with New Yorkers and transplants out there, and that gave me even more confidence to go for the brick and mortar. So in 2014, we found our brick and mortar location, learned the hard way how to take a building that hadn't been touched in 100 years and convert it into a restaurant space was a challenge, to say the least. But day one, line down the street. And we figured out the first week that we made a mistake not getting a bigger space. We had one 7x8 walk-in. We rolled the bagels on site, we smoked the fish on site, we made the cream cheese, and every day we ran out of everything and then had to do it all over again. And so literally 1 month into my lease, I was looking to rent the space next door and knock the wall down, and it took 2 years to do that. I was hand-rolling every single bagel myself, baking every single bagel myself, and learned very fast that that does not work. Like you said, it's Allison she'd never worked in a restaurant before, done any accounting. She was the general manager, accountant, schmear technician, register, And luckily, I had Dustin. He was still working for another group, but he taught me a lot about restaurant finance and what your numbers should look like. And ours were all over the place. Sales were so high that it's okay, we're good. And then you finally have someone make sense of the numbers, and you're like, huh? And so, we eventually, we expanded. We put a giant outdoor walk-in that saved our lives. We moved our dough, when we decided we wanted to grow, we moved our dough production to a centralized location where we make the New York water. And that was another reason where it made sense to do pizza, because if you have a really skilled dough person, they can make bagel dough, they can make pizza dough, and we ship it out to the locations. And so we took on more of the commissary model and adopted that very early on. And it allowed us to expand in a way that we could keep an eye on the quality of the food. And so, our ethos is the food comes first, the customer, our people and their growth, and then the P&L.
So you have a central commissary serving how many
So
locations?
2 full-service Rosenberg's locations, 2 pizza locations, and the Italian deli. And so we've even grown that space to be able to accommodate more things. We smoke all of our fish there. We're getting the rabbis to bless a dairy room for us so we can start bringing all of our pastries over there. Because right now we have 2 separate pastry teams, one that cooks with butter and one that cooks with no butter, and it's just this is silly. But for me, it was all about, I want all the things that fill my cup from my childhood out here. And I had to realize over the years, just because it's important to me, it doesn't mean it's important to a lot of other people. And so that was the hardest thing with the growth.
Yeah. Well, let's continue with you. So I'm going to ask you one last question, then we're going to have a lightning round, and then we'll have a couple minutes for Q&A from the audience. So what you just mentioned, one thing that's next is getting the rabbis to bless a new pastry space for you.
Yes.
What else is next for the group?
We're looking at products like Ben and and at catering like you guys, ways to bring in more revenue without opening more restaurants. And not to say we don't want to open more restaurants, it's just a really hard time right now, and the cost of construction and things like that, especially Denver's just going like this in terms of popularity and growth. So we'd like to open more restaurants, but right now we're focusing on our products, getting our frozen bagels in more grocers, our smoked fish. We're working on a frozen pizza bagel product. We've got bagel balls. There's a lot of things we can do to bring in more revenue without taking on a lot more costs and risk.
Very smart. Bridget, what's next for Holey City?
Yeah, so I just stepped away as GM June 30th, and I know I'm fired. And it's the most loyal, been with us for 2.5 years. Carter is our GM now, and trust her with my life. But doing that, stepping away from the trenches, helped me to see how many cracks were actually in our operation, and that's not her fault. It's just how it was. And we finally figured out, 2024 for me, really the second half was like figuring out that P&L formula, and that was 2 years after we opened, but really getting that on autopilot in a lot of ways. And then we were able to really make money, steady profit. And that doesn't mean it's time to grow if the restaurant isn't operating as not the way Bridget wants it to operate, but the way that Holey City Bagels needs it to operate to be Holey City Bagels, right? So if the staff isn't buying what we're selling, it doesn't really matter. And if we're not selling it, then it can't ever be bought. So I saw all these disconnects, and Greg and I were looking at different spaces, second locations, putting in LOIs, getting excited, oh my God, I'm jamming it, let's go do this, and just hit pause because it was whoa, it's just double the cracks. Demand doesn't mean money. Demand means demand. Sales doesn't mean money. It means sales. They're different. Profit doesn't mean cash flow at all, actually. We've been profitable and had a negative cash flow for the first year. Imagine that, So it's complicated. And so we want to grow. We want to expand. We're hitting pause just for a minute, just to regroup, to put our system, make sure we have our SOPs in place, our systems in place, so we can be at BagelFest this weekend and know that it's running the way it would as if we were there, And if it's not, there's an easy way to hold someone accountable and how to teach them how to do it. But if they need us there to be successful, then we're the problem.
I said something about this yesterday, but the success of any system should depend on the design of the system and not the people in the system. But, businesses like yours often rely on you, right? But that's the ideal. So other than more balls, what else is in the future?
So we are looking into expanding. We've grown out of our location. We can't keep up with the sheer volume. So now we're looking into finding a warehouse where we could centralize all of our rolling and then having a secondary location where we split between the two. Also within the warehouse, I feel like I'm in the beginning steps of where they were before. We are looking into going into other realms of business. So I like drinking, so I like food with drinks, and the balls are great with drinks. Also Korean fusion empanadas or something like that. So we have a lot of ideas and we want to do it, but at this location we're actually trying to simplify our menu a lot more because it's just some of the stuff is too time consuming to make. So we're trying to lessen it, streamline it, make it faster, and have it centralized so we could expand to more places.
Sounds great. All right, I've got a few lightning round questions, and then we'll have some questions from the audience. These lightning round questions are a little atypical, but I really want to talk about numbers because numbers are everything. So you're each going to answer how many years to break even on your first business. How many years to break even, Joshua?
I believe
Or
the
how long?
first location we were pretty lucky because we're pretty bootstrapped. So I think break even was within the first year.
Nice. That is lucky.
Compared to our Italian deli that broke even year 6.
Okay.
We own the building, so that was a little different. We could wait. But I'd say more average, it's about a 3-year till profitability.
Yeah. What about you? 1 year, which is pretty atypical, I think. Yeah.
It was probably about 3 years for us.
Yeah.
Because, starting at the pandemic, we were in a gray area where we weren't eligible for any PPP grants, loans, or anything like that. So I just blew through all of our savings.
Yeah. It's tough. You started to talk a little bit about profitability. You both did. I'm actually going to eliminate that question because I think it is misleading. Because profitability doesn't necessarily mean that you have cash in the bank. But I want to ask you a different question. How many of you were paying yourselves a salary from day one? Just one. She's the winner here today. She was paying herself. That is something that a lot of businesses, they can't do, but when you don't build that in, that's a tough one. All right, a little more fun. I want you to answer, what is the best seller on your menu, and what do you wish was the best seller? And for that second one, why do you wish it was the best seller? Ben, let's go with you first.
Our best seller is the Soul Meats Bagel. I think it's a very different sandwich from everything else that you see on the market. Not a bacon, egg, and cheese, sausage, egg, and cheese, cream cheese. So bringing that Korean twist to it is what really put us on the map. What I wish was the best seller was a bagel with butter.
I know.
And what would you say? Why is that? Is it the margins and the simplicity? Is
Just
that
the
why?
simplicity of it, just cut it, slice it, smear it, and get it out. Anything simple, anything, whatever could get the person in and out and have a quick joke or whatever. That's pretty much the easiest thing. Ben's ball takes 3 minutes to fry. And then you have to.
Bridget, what about you? What's your best seller? What do you wish?
Our best seller is bacon, egg, and cheese on everything, hands down, every day. And man, I wish it was a butter on a plain bagel. I mean, that's a 12%.
Ditto.
I mean,
Bacon, egg, and cheese is like 50% of our sales. It's insane. And I mean, I turned people on to Taylor ham out there. They don't know about it, so Taylor ham's slowly creeping up there. It's Taylor ham. You're from California.
Taylor ham.
You're from California. But yeah, anything, honestly, it's like on the weekends especially, it's the hotline that's getting crushed. So anything that's easy, a bagel and schmear, bagel with butter, more cold line food. I also think it travels better. We do a lot of delivery service, so when you wrap a hot bacon, egg, and cheese on a fresh bagel, you lose your crust in transit. So that's the other reason. It's the margins, the ease, but also the quality of the product is better on a cold sandwich when it's a fresh bagel.
Let's see. Any questions? Yes. Should I pass around the mic, Stevie, with that? Yeah. No, you don't need a mic. Okay.
Yeah, first.
We got one here and then one here, I think, right?
Okay. Yeah. First, thanks so much for all three contributions today. It was really great. It's a question for you, Josh, if that's okay. Our bagel house in Plymouth, we come from a place where we really love to create all aspects of our offer. So our sauerkraut is house-made, our pickles are house-made, our chili sauce is house-made. We really do go deep on it. We've talked a lot about salmon this trip. It's a long story. But hearing you say you went to smoking, I've just literally been at FaceTime my head chef going around Acme and whatnot. And how did you implement that? You've got a multi-site business. It's busy, and you are then transitioning to smoking quite a critical food product in salmon because you're going to sell a lot of it. I know we haven't got a lot of time, but could you just talk us through how you ran that process parallel to all the other aspects of your business, please?
Yeah, absolutely. So honestly, in the beginning, when we were just in one building, doing everything under one roof, it was way easy. It wasn't that hard. We were there 18 hours a day. So, and once you nail your recipe for curing, it's time is the ingredient. So there is work that goes into it, but then it's about just organizing your production schedules and things like that. Teaching people how to hand slice lox is another story. You're gonna waste a lot of product that way, or make a lot of lox cream cheese. But for me, I guess the lesson I learned, I think I said it's important to me, but if it's not as important to the guest, in my decade-long experience, I've started to compromise on process so that we don't disturb the core business. And so we bought a Morel fish slicer from Copenhagen. It's the one at Acme. It laser scans the fillet and slices the lox perfectly, and no one noticed. I was so sad not to be hand slicing lox. Not a single customer said anything, and I was like, great, for 7 years been paying people hundreds of thousands of dollars to sit here and just slice lox. and no one cares. So, and that goes into like we were the same way in the beginning. We made everything. I mean, we were talking about culturing our own cream cheese. Like, it was stupid. It's because we're passionate about it, right? And so, you know, the business side, which is what we're talking about, has to balance that passion side. I think curing fish can be a very profitable business, and it can be something that you do well. You just have to take into, like, is it taking away from my time being spent on the core business? Is it profitable to do it in-house versus outsourcing? You know, we pay for the water weight of the fish to fly in from New Zealand. Like, that doesn't make too much sense. So we're out here talking with Acme and talking with other smokehouses to see if they're going to white label our product in the future, right? We could save so much money doing it. And the core that someone taught me is, if you can give people the integrity and the essence of what you're trying to give them, it doesn't matter if you make it or if someone else makes it. And so that's how we make our decision. It's like, should we bring on this product or do it in-house? Does it hold the same integrity as if we did it ourselves? And if the answer is yes, and it's a smarter business play, then we do it. Even though in the beginning, in the first 3 years, I wouldn't have ever thought of doing that. We did everything. We're making ours, you know, there's a local company making ketchup, and we're like, oh yeah, let's do that. You're just like, I'm paying ridiculous amounts of money for ketchup. No one cares.
I'm curious to hear what you all think about food apps. Do you have them as part of your business model? Do you think they're
like
valuable,
delivery?
like DoorDash?
Oh, yeah.
Are they valuable for brand exposure and reach? Do they crush you because of the margins you avoid? What's your take?
This is a good topic, because when the pandemic hit, we told them all to F off. Like, they were trying to take 20 to 30%. I was like, no. I was like, that's not I don't even have that margin. Like, what are you talking about? And we were lucky that we had so much. It wasn't viral, really. It was just like a huge following, because we were the only authentic New York bagel shop in town, that people were coming to us. We didn't need DoorDash or Uber Eats to bring us more people. But eventually, specifically during the pandemic, the way people order and eat completely changed. Like, New York's always been a place where you can get anything delivered. Denver was never like that. And so I'm not even going to get into the myriad of issues with integrating third party into your point of sale, or like whose fault it is when a driver drops the food before they deliver it. And the perception of the customer is always it's our fault. And so they unfortunately are a necessary evil in today's world. And we just played hardball, and we pitted them against each other when they all went public. And we signed an exclusive with DoorDash because they gave us the best deal. And so, you know, if you have the volume to do it, they're willing to negotiate. And I would say play hardball. In the beginning, if I were starting a bagel shop now, I'd be on all the platforms, at least in the beginning, just to like get your product out there, and get the data from them. But yeah, they're a necessary evil.
Anything either one of you would want to add to that conversation on apps?
Well, everything's negotiable.
Yeah.
Everything is negotiable. And we do toast delivery services, because the purpose of our delivery wasn't for marketing, but just for accessibility for customers, because we held off for a while. But I think in the next year, we'll probably add on, you know, we'll join those after negotiating.
I think we probably have time maybe for one more question. Back there, West Virginia.
I'm sure everyone else kind of has had this problem, but starting out, you're the one that does everything. So as you kind of, I've been going from, you know, a part-time side thing to a storefront. What, other than good people and good procedures, like, what helped you determine what to give up first? Do you wish you maybe kept control of something that you gave up? Just kind of giving up control. Obviously, it's hard when you just built it from nothing by yourself. And how did you transition to keep it?
Sure. That's a really great question. So in February, I thought I was going to have a heart attack, and I sat down and I made a list of all of my glass balls and my plastic balls. And my glass balls are things that only I can do in order for the business to run, right? And the plastic balls are things that are already delegated or should easily be delegated right away, right? They can drop and the business will be okay, even if just temporarily. So things like taking inventory, I was still doing. That's a plastic ball. But ordering, in my mind at that time, was still a glass ball, right? So that's how I, just as an example, that's how I separated it. You know, what I quickly realized in doing that exercise was A, I needed to drop a lot of plastic balls right away. And B, I needed to figure out how to convert more glass balls into plastic balls because they weren't real. It just felt real to me because I was so in it. And who do I empower? How do I empower? And where do I start? Because it's just easier if I do it myself. And that is a terrible business model, just objectively, you know? So that's how only you can know. But I asked for a lot of help with that. You know, like I didn't know how to do that once I was done with the list, you know, and I reached out to people who had come before me and had experience with it, and I took what I needed from all of them, you know, and took some, and some of it applied, some of it didn't, and then that list looks a lot different, just, you know, how many months ago, 9 months ago, 8 months ago.
I just want to add, two things stuck out for me in the beginning when I was getting started, because same question, right? And like I said, I was rolling and baking all the bagels, took up a lot of my time. Someone's like, why don't you let someone else bake the bagels? And I said, well, no one knows what a bagel is here. And a chef friend of mine said, well, what if you already employ the best bagel baker in the world? You don't know it because you never gave him a shot. And that really stuck with me, and I started letting people do things. And then the other thing that I've learned in life is if you don't let people fail and learn, you'll be stuck doing it forever. And being the one, and I try to mentor our people and our managers to do the same thing because they often get stuck in screw it, I'll just do it myself, it's easier. And then they're complaining because they're working 60 hours a week. And I'm like, well, I only scheduled you for 50.
I try cross-training all of my employees too. So all of them could bake, to run the register, to run the coffee machine, and on the griddle. Some of them are stronger in areas, so we keep them in those areas. But if we need to pivot at any point, all of my guys have been with me for pretty much, they're all tenure people now with me. So we could do everything each other does, but, you know.
Breaks up the monotony too, right?
Yeah, it's just, it changes it up for everybody, so it keeps everybody's on their toes.
And it creates a lot of empathy, cross-training, which is also
They're
important.
like, damn, I can't do this.
Yeah. Well, we are already running a little long, so I want to say thank you so much to our three panelists, and thank you all for participating. And thank you, BagelFest, for having BagelFest.